look out now. It's the Bourbon and Banter podcast, the biggest and most honest podcast in all of bourbon. That's right, friends and neighbors. We are here to give you everything you need to drink curious. So sit back, grab a pour, and check your feelings at the door, because we're here to lay it down for you as only Bourbon and Banter can. We're back for the most fantabulous month of the year. That's right, it's Bourbon Heritage Month. So ladies and gentlemen, start your livers and grab your favorite 30 bottles as we do it up like nobody else can. After all, this is why we're professionals. Here we go.
Well, Bob, I think you could just call me Count Von Count of Bourbon. 1 bourbon, 2 bourbons, 3 bourbons, fuck. It is going to be...
You forgot the best part. 1, 2, 3 bourbons. You got to get the laugh in there. The count was awesome.
Well, you know, I do what I can. My kids are way past that sesame age, so I can't watch it as much as I used to without people raising a curious eye.
No, you can. You just have to go onto YouTube and find all the ones that they've changed to something else, like the Count's song, you know, the song of the Count, and they bleep the word count. So it sounds like every time he says count, he's saying fuck, but they bleeped it out to make it sound think that. So it makes the song completely different. Folks, go check that out. If you want a good laugh, just mute it if you're at work or put your headphones on and check out the Count Censored on the YouTube there.
You'll know that I am called the Count because I really love to.
Look at that. We're not even 2 minutes in, and we've given them excellent pro tips that transcend the world of bourbon.
That's right. That's what we're here for.
That's how we do it. Well, how the hell are you, Bob?
I'm trying to make it on a little vacation. So I'm sleeping, and then I'm getting up and I'm taking a nap, and then I'm going back to sleep.
So where's the donuts and the ice cream come into that schedule?
The donuts and the ice cream are there. I've done a lot of cooking over the course of this vacation. So a little Italian food, a little more Italian food, a little more Italian food, and some whiskey and donuts and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, actually, funny enough, the food is so rich that the dessert aspect of the meals have not actually been as frequent as one would expect.
Oh, surprising. But hey,
I did make that cherry pie, that Luxardo cherry pie though, that I've been talking about for years. I did make that. In fact, just this morning, I got let out of the emergency room. I had to go in for a sugar overdose. But
did you pick up your prescription of metformin for that?
Yeah, I'm all right now. But.
Well, look at that. We're going to write this down, Bob, and this is going to be it's a little too late for this year since this is the first day of Bourbon Heritage Month. But we're going to have to write that down next year, seed it out around August 1st, and it'll be, you know, Bob's Bourbon Heritage Month bulk up menu, right? It's like the food you need to eat and the frequency in order to be ready.
We can do that. Well, we can still make that available through folks throughout the month. You know, you got to carb up sometimes to get through this, folks.
That's right. Because it is, I mean, this is our 10th year now, and it is seriously no joke. And for those of you who aren't aware, Bourbon Heritage Month, in my opinion, is the most badass month of the year. And 10 years ago, we made the decision at Bourbon and Banter to celebrate it like no one else was doing. And really, no one else celebrates it quite like us. I mean, we really put this on the map. And so Kentucky should just be ashamed of themselves, by the way, for that. But we've been doing it big for years. And one of the linchpins of what we do is called the 30 Days of Bourbon Challenge. And this is where we encourage everyone to join us. And every day of the month, you drink a different bourbon. No repeats throughout the month, right? We even have a handy dandy calendar that you can download and print out. And each day you write down the bourbon that you've consumed, right? And you take a picture of it and post it online and share it with everyone. We give away a few prizes to a few lucky posters as well. But when you sit down and you start thinking about doing this, you're like, oh, 30 days of different bourbons. I've got 30 bourbons, 40 bourbons in my house, or I've got some friends that I can get together. But man, at about night 6, when you're on that 6th or 7th bourbon and you're like, I got to write it down and post it, it becomes hard work.
It is. It's a job. It's a job. Do not be fooled by imitation calendars either, folks. I know there have been some out there, but Bourbon and Banter originated the 30 Days of Bourbon Challenge.
That's right. And I appreciate, you know, imitation being flattery and all, but you're absolutely right. Get it from Bourbon and Banter because we're the folks that are going to give out some cool prizes. We've partnered with over 30 distilleries this year, and we have a ton of swag to give away. We've got bottles to give away. We've got even more surprises. We've got some memberships to the Bourbon and Banter community to give away. We've got Bob's culinary guidelines to give away.
You said culinary, not culinary, right?
Well, that's interchangeable. I believe in, efficiency with words.
I say the culinary could lead you to the culinary, but
I say that wasn't a shitty thing to say, was it, Bob?
No. Just stop it. Just don't take a dump on the whole thing.
Oh, all right. Well, that stunk. So anyway, but it's a fantastic month, and it's a lot of work. I mean, I remember about a week ago I posted to the group that it was coming up, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, my liver! I don't know if I'm ready. I'm still recovering from last year." So maybe we're just getting old, but it's not easy. But I tell you what, it's a hell of a lot of fun.
That it is. Brings everybody together.
That's right. And just remember, different bourbon every day. No rye, no Tennessee whiskeys. Sorry, guys, that's a different month. All right, it's got to be different bourbon. And by the way, Wild Turkey 81 and 101, they're the same bourbon. They got to be different. All right, the rules are on our website. All you have to do is go to 30daysofbourbon.com. You can get the calendar. You can read the rules. You can enter our giveaway. Oh, I forgot to mention the giveaway, Bob. The best part after the 30 days challenge, right? We give away a bourbon swag pack every week during the month of September. So you enter the giveaway up front. You'll be entered in for every week's drawing, unless you win, of course. And each week we're going to draw a name, and that person is going to win a giant box full of swag from both Bourbon and Banter, Drink Curious, and our distillery partners. So we're talking T-shirts, flask, glassware. We got these really cool Evan Williams baseball jerseys this year from Heaven Hill that people are going to be going crazy over. So we pack that box full, and then at the end of the month, we pick a grand prize winner, and they're going to win double the swag as well.
And we guarantee you there will be no whiskey stones in any of those boxes sent to you.
That is absolutely correct. No whiskey stones. That is for sure. And then there's also a few extra surprises from some of our other sponsors, including Michter's and Breckenridge Bourbon and a few others. So you definitely want to enter. You want to enter early. There's lots of ways to increase the number of entries. And once again, you don't have to buy a single thing. It's all free. Enter it. We'd love to have you, and we hope that you'll help us spread the word throughout the best damn month of the year. All right, so you're signed up. You're moving along. What else can you be doing to help us celebrate Bourbon Heritage Month? Well, become a part of the Bourbon and Banter community. You've heard us talk about this for a long time now. And once again, no purchase is necessary. Just go to bourbonbanter.com. Subscribe. You'll be in the loop. And by simply signing up, we're going to add you to our invite-only Facebook community where you can hang with other people and talk about the different bourbons you're drinking during September. It's a great place to learn as well. Ask fellow members questions. There are no dumb questions in our group, and we're going to help you be as educated as possible. And if you join as a paid member, well, you can even get into our top secret super invite Slack community where, let's just say, that's where the politically correct do not tread. Would you agree with that assessment, Bob?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yes.
Right. So if you've been drinking bourbon for a while, you're tired of all the bullshit, the taters, things of that nature, you want to be a part of our Slack community because it's a pretty unique place to be.
It's just this with even more people and even less structure so that we can just
there's no structure.
Yell about whatever we want to yell about.
Les is being generous. Absolutely no structure. And then, of course, we, as a community, we do multiple barrel picks a year. We are on schedule to be going down to Kentucky in the middle of October, and we're doing a Four Roses single barrel pick. So we're super excited about that. And at the same time, we're doing our first annual Bourbon and Banter Community Summit. So we're getting a whole bunch of folks together to explore some different things while we're in Kentucky, drink a lot of bourbon together, smoke some cigars. It's going to be a really fantastic time. And Bob, we have a potential surprise barrel pick happening during that same time that hasn't been formally announced yet. Once again, these are the types of things we're bringing to the members to come down with us and join us and have a really great time, build up some camaraderie, and drink a lot of really good bourbon. I think the last couple of trips we've done, our bottle count for these bottle shares have been over 50 bottles. So it's a great time to come and try things that you may not have in your own collection as well. And once again, you can sign up for free, and you'll be in the know just like that. And speaking of single barrels, we made a decision earlier this year to hold back some of our single barrel picks just for Bourbon Heritage Month. So we're opening this up to anybody. You don't have to be in our community. Just go to 30daysofbourbon.com and scroll down, and you're going to see a couple links where you can click on those. And until they're gone, you can have an opportunity to buy some of the really cool single barrels we've picked over the last year. And Ace Spirits, who is our retail partner, they have a great deal that when you buy bottles from them, they have $20 flat shipping for up to 12 bottles. So come in, buy a bottle of each, spend $20, and it's a great deal all around. And if you like it, come back quickly and order some more. We'd love for you to experience what it's like to sip on some of the whiskey that we've picked.
All fantastic, fantastic opportunities. And yes, indeed, that's the best deal you're going to find. $20 flat rate shipping for up to a dozen bottles. There you go.
Absolutely. And if you survive all that, you do the 30 days of bourbon, you maybe win some cool shit. We're going to hit it again in October, and we're going to be back with another episode of the podcast, and we're going to be there. We're going to talk about some of our partners, KO Distilling, Still Austin Whiskey out of Texas, Bob and my favorite Texas whiskey, right?
That is correct.
So
they are the only Texas whiskey to survive the Bourbon and Banter Challenge.
That's right. That's right. So we're going to have a lot of good stuff coming up in October and for the rest of the year as well. So don't let the 30 days of bourbon kill you. Take a day off, no more. October 1st, you can take that off. But we expect you to be back with us and hanging out and having a good time. So, Bob, anything else we need to get to before we dive into the current whiskey headlines?
No, I think there's a whole bunch waiting for us on the other end of that, so we better get going.
All right, well, let me take a shot.
I'm just hearing things. I thought you said take a shit.
Take a shot, Bob.
Okay.
All right, folks, fully charged. Now, here we go. Let's talk about the whiskey news. Well, I think the biggest news that happened in the last week or two was the announcement about Blue Run's acquisition.
Yeah, are they I'm guessing that now the Blue Run was bought by Molson Coors, so I'm guessing that those butterfly bottles are now going to be the little, like, banquet bottles, the little,
No, because they can't
with,
quite charge that super premium price with those bottles. But you know what, Bob? I really hope what this means is that the little butterflies in the bottles are going to have that cold technology. So when the bottles, when taters are buying those bottles and putting them in the freezer, that the butterfly turns blue to let them know it's cold enough.
Let them know it's cold enough. There, yeah. There you go.
If they don't do that, that is a huge opportunity. I mean, we have our opinions on Blue Run, but I will never say these guys aren't brilliant brand marketers. They're fantastic, right? In fact, they've built this brand, right? They've got it into 31 states as of this year, which is, it's hard to do. When you're building up a brand and pushing it out there, distribution is the name of the game. And they've done that, and that's part of the things that's helped fueled the interest in the brand for Molson Coors to come in here and announce them. And so, I mean, the brand's not even 3 years old. So this is like same sort of time frame for what happened with Penelope and being acquired by MGP just a number of months ago. So, apparently all the founders from Blue Runner can continue to work for the brand once it moves over. And they've actually just announced that the first new bourbon from the brand is out. And I think we're going to talk about that in the new releases as well. But this is big news. There's a great point of view article over on Bourbon Banter from Steve Coombs. For those of you interested, head over there, check it out. And the big question is, Bob, who's going to be next? Who's going to be the next big brand acquisition in the whiskey world? What's the next startup that's going to be acquired? Any thoughts on that? Putting your money on anything?
I don't know. Well, I will tell you though, the Blue Run made a move in bringing a little dab of bourbon. Our friend Chrissy in, and she came in, and all of a sudden this all happened. So maybe she needs a raise. Maybe Chrissy needs a raise. So
well, she definitely needs a raise. That's without question.
Yeah, I think so. She
cut of the profits, maybe.
She got in there and just. Everything is just moving forward, and whatever happened to that slapdick shit? I don't know.
That's been rebranded as Limp Dick.
Is that what it is? Okay,
that's right. We don't talk about that here. No Limp Dick here. We're not going to talk about that.
Inside jokes, but seriously, when I've seen from her working with the brand and getting that out there, so good for them. But who's next? I don't know. I mean, I got a jug out in the back shed here that's been there for about 6 months. I could probably sell that for a couple $1 million, and I could be the next one, Pops.
You could be. And what an acquisition. That any company would be proud to have you as their property, Bob.
Hey, if you're going just in sheer volume, I got more volume than any of these other companies that are going on here.
Speaking of volume and acquisition, the Bourbon and Banter podcast is currently up for sale. Just saying. Well, we're always for sale. So just let us know, and we'll work out a tonnage rate for you. It'll be a good deal for everybody involved. But here's the thing. Somebody better make the next acquisition quickly, because news just broke this week that Biden's alcohol czar warns Americans that they could soon be told to limit themselves to just 2 beers per week under strict new booze guidelines.
Told to limit. Based on what?
Urged by officials to drink no more than 2 beers
Urged by
a week.
officials. Okay. Well, is there any science behind this? I'm looking here, and Canada had a big experiment. Well, okay. Yeah,
that just writes itself.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Well, but you've jumped right to the thing of, it's like the guy, the czar, was quoted. So if alcohol guidelines go in any direction, it would be toward Canada. Okay, why the fuck are we following Canada? I mean, the shit's on fire.
That's true. It is on fire.
Yeah,
Not like shit's going that much better here, but shit. I mean,
true.
Look, listen, they're talking about, alcohol adversely affecting. All the other bullshit around here is adversely affecting everybody a hell of a lot more than consuming alcohol. What do you think helps us get from day to day to day to day?
Yeah, see what happened in South Africa when they banned alcohol? See what happened last time they banned it here? People need to look at history and remember. That's what we're learning here. The other thing that in this that got me up, it said per U.S. guidelines, a drink is defined as containing 0.6 fluid ounces of alcohol, equivalent to 1 beer, 1 glass of wine. It's 12% alcohol or 1 shot. And you know what? Now that I reread that, now I must be sober, because I was reading, I was like, since when was 0.6 ounces a shot? But now it's saying a beer, so it's fluid ounces of alcohol. Okay, so as a component of a larger measurement. So I get that now, but I mean, I'm sorry, Bob, you know me. I don't want the government telling me anything about these kind of things. So I hope this is nothing more than a blip on the radar and it goes away.
Well, I'm curious to know what are they going to do with the tax revenue that they lose if everybody goes down to drinking this?
Well, I'm really hoping, how the government has created the ability for you to buy carbon offsets. So if your company isn't following energy conservation stuff, like you can go to other companies who have energy credits, carbon credits, and you can buy those, right? So someone else is doing a better job than you at saving, the climate. You can buy that, and you can say that you're climate neutral, which I always thought was kind of humorous. So I'm really hoping, based on my alcohol consumption, that I can buy alcohol offset credits. So all the people who are sober, I can pay them a little bit of money, and then suddenly I'm not drinking over the recommended guidelines. So I think there's going to be a business in there. So I'm going to look into that, see if we can tie it in some NFTs and some cryptocurrency and make that a reality.
Yeah, I think there's too much thought already being put into this.
All right. Well, let's move on to the person, or to the company that overthinks everything. And that would be our favorite pals over at Sazerac. Apparently they decided it was their mission to save the world. So Buffalo Trace's parent company, Sazerac, has won its recent lawsuit against a distributor who was selling counterfeit W.L. Weller mini bottles, therefore saving the world from end of days, is the article in VinePair talked about. It's good to know that this is the priority in their world.
W.L. Weller minis?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. According to the article here, that the allocated liquor was not authorized to sell and advertise Weller bourbon, and further, Sazerac has never offered mini bottles from the brand. So they were selling gift sets. So they were taking Weller, putting in mini bottles, printing really cool official-looking labels, putting them in gift sets, and selling it in their store.
Yeah, for how much?
Well, let's see. I'm not sure if it
$300 a
per
set.
Yeah.
Sets of 7 mini bottles for $300 a set.
Well, that's like about equivalent to a bottle of Weller.
Yeah, but are these WL? These aren't William LaRue Wellers. These are WL Weller green labels, right?
I'm trying to figure this out here. Hold on. It's just, I think it's the whole Weller set.
Oh, just all the various bottles?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know what size the mini bottles were, but let's say they were 50 mLs, which is what an airplane bottle is. So that's equivalent of about half a bottle, right? 300 milliliters of,
I'm just looking at this.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the type of
I'm
thing
laughing because they're
Sazerac
selling this. They were selling this on Etsy. Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, this.
You're gonna go get your crocheted Weller thing, and then go get your set of 7.
Well, I know you can buy the labels on Etsy. I mean, what's funny about this is they're probably doing it more for the fact that they didn't think about doing it themselves. I mean, Four Roses just finally put their 10 recipes in a kit, right? Charging a ton for it. So I would not be surprised if in 2024, now that they've made it very clear that no one else can do this, that they release their own. Because I've been hosting a series of curated tasting bars, and I've had conversations with hundreds of people over the last 2 weeks, and it is shocking the number of people who are paying over $200 a bottle just to get a bottle of Weller, and we're talking, like special reserve.
That's insane.
It's just absolutely insane.
That is just insane, people. Be a smarter drinker. Yes. Listen to us. Be a smarter drinker. You do not need that shit.
No. You get it at retail, slightly over retail, drink it up. It's good bourbon. You should try it. But stop paying these inflated prices. But it's good to know, Bob, that Sazerac's got our back, and they're going to make sure everybody's playing extremely fair. It's always good to know.
As I'm looking at that article, the ad that pops up in the middle of the page for something completely unrelated is a set of dentures. just a set of dentures with the points going up that you would insert into a full, bridge there. And I'm like, what is this saying about what you're reading? Who knows? Well,
Bob, that's a perfect segue to the next news item, which really has nothing to do with bourbon, but I just thought it was such useful information that our readers would want to know. And that's that Oscar Mayer has now announced that hot dog straws are a real thing, teeth not required. Uh-huh. And it's a hot dog straw. It's a hot dog single package wrapped with a hole in the middle. So you can put it into your beer and drink your beer.
But it's not an actual hot dog. It's actually made of silicone.
Oh, well, now
it's not an actual, lips and assholes hot dog.
Oh, you're crushing me, really?
No, I'm sorry, man. No, so if you want a hot dog straw, you're going to have to do it yourself. You're going to have to go get yourself a King David hot dog and get your drill bit or whatever the fuck to get through the center of that thing. Because I tell you, pushing a straw through a hot dog, it's not going to go too far. Trust me on that one. But, you got to go get your own all beef, kosher, Frank, whatever, and do it yourself. These are just silicone hot dogs with a hole in the middle. And I'm thinking to myself, who the hell puts a hot dog in a beer to drink the beer? Who's drinking a beer through a straw to begin with, unless there's medical reasons? That's fine, folks. But come on now.
Well, I'm crushed. I really am. It'd be a lot cooler if it was a real hot dog. Yeah, no, it ain't a real hot dog. Oh, man. All right, well, another thing to put into our R&D portfolio to do that. And if you're going to make your own and put a straw through a King David hot dog, make sure it's a good old-fashioned planet-killing plastic straw. Those paper straws aren't going to cut through that King David hot dog.
No, maybe one of the metal straws. And don't you dare, Knudsen is going to think of this first. Don't you dare put a fucking pipette through a straw, okay? I know Jim's out there like,
it better be a Norland pipette. Probably only one strong enough to make it through. All right, well, that's all of the news because we've got a lot of whiskey releases to talk about and let go off the trail. So we're gonna right this train just for a quick hot second, and we're gonna dive into everybody's favorite new whiskey releases. All right, there's a lot to get through, folks. There's a lot of new releases. We are in the fall release season. So I want to apologize in advance on behalf of both Bob and myself that a lot of these are going to be for bourbons that you're never going to get your hands on. But we feel we need to report it and share the information just so you're educated. And in the off chance that you stumble across one or you're feeling generous to pay an inflated price point, by all means do that. And maybe you'll have a little sympathy for us and you'll send Bob a little taster. We'd appreciate that. So if you want to send us something, just reach out to podcast@bourbonbanter.com and your email will get answered first. I guarantee it. First up, 2023 Parker's Heritage Collection Limited Edition has been announced. This year, Bob, you'll be happy to know it's going to be a 10-year-old cast strength rye coming in at a strong 128.8 proof. This is Heaven Hills Distillery's traditional rye whiskey mash bill, 51% rye, 35% corn, 14% malted barley. And the MSRP, drum roll please, a cool $185. Now, it's a lot of goddamn money, but Parker's has always been expensive. But just to give a little history lesson, Bob, it's $185 this year. It's $174 last year, $139 the year before, and back in 2020, it was a mere $120. So we've gone up in just 3 years, $65 for this release.
And I thought at one time Parker's was even more expensive, but I could be wrong. I'm talking like 10 years ago.
Right. And I didn't go that far back. I don't have all of them. It turns out that one of our community members mentioned that he's got all of them, and I'm stunned. So I've got to make him my new best friend. He's actually coming with us on the Four Roses barrel pick. He won that spot before I found out about this, but it would have influenced me. It absolutely would have if it hadn't been picked.
Hey, it's your thing, man. You can do whatever you want.
That's right. I can be swayed. And cash is even better, by the way. But no, but this one, I love Heaven Hills rye products. 10-year-old cask strength sounds delicious. So once again, haven't gotten a sample yet. Hopefully one is coming in the mail, and we'll let people know what we think about it. But this is one that I would be excited about. Just pricing is what it is. Above $100, it gets really hard for me to pull the trigger on anything.
When you consider what these limited editions are pricing for all across the industry, that for Heaven Hill is not completely outrageous. It's not. I mean, it's within what everything else. You got stuff that's sourced out there that's going for twice that.
Well, that's an excellent point. I mean, I'd much rather pay the original distillery of a product that price point if I had no choice. Right. Once again, still high, but I'd rather spend $175 with them than $210 with Blue Run. But
if you run into it and you think about it in bar price.
Oh,
if you're one of those people that goes out and you'll enjoy a nice couple drinks and you'll pay $30 a shot or $40 a shot, this is less than $20 a shot for a 2-ounce pour. You buy the whole bottle, you're still saving some money.
There you go. Look at that. Bob teaching you ways to rationalize your budget, folks.
There you go.
That's right. Well, speaking of top-notch releases, Four Roses has announced the 2023 limited edition single barrel will be released on September 15th. This year's release is actually celebrating the 135th anniversary of the distillery. It is a blend of 4 recipes, a OESK at 12 years, which accounts for 35% of the blend, a OESV at 14 years, which is 40% of the blend, an OESV 16-year-old, which is 20%, and then a staggering 25-year-old OBSV, which is the standard single barrel release recipe, counts for 5% of that blend. And it's going to come in at 108 proof. Price tag, $199.
So it's also gone up about $65 over the course of the last 5 years.
It has. Now, is it any good? Well, Steve Coombs wrote about it briefly for us, talking about it, and he said it was different to him than the previous year's releases. He didn't say it was bad. He said it was going to have to grow on him a little bit. Well, I'm fortunate that just a mere 2 days ago, had a little bottle show up in the mail of this year's release. So I poured it right before we started recording this podcast. And so I'm going to give you a quick first impression of this. Nose is fantastic. I mean, as you would expect, just rich, decadent, a little bit of floral there, but actually I get less floral. I get a much meatier caramel vanilla nose on this. But the signature floral note that I always get from Four Roses is still there. Ah, come on. It's fucking delicious. Wow. Well done, Brent. Well done. This is another banger, guys. I'm digging this.
And I'm being quiet because for recording purposes, we are in isolated locations so that sonic quality is at a premium.
The things that Bob sacrifices, and we haven't had a chance. Well, I just got this, so I haven't had a chance to get him a taste of this. But that, man, Bob, I don't know if you're going to get a taste of that.
Yeah, not in a 50 milliliter sample. I'm not.
Well, no, that was a 200 ml sample.
Was it? Okay.
Well, no, it's a 150. But no, that's a good release, people. You once again, 199. You're gonna have to just make your own decision. But I can tell you this: it's delicious, and once again, I'd much rather pay a premium to the brands that I respect and know and love. And Four Roses is at the top of that list. Moving on, Old Forester has announced this year's birthday bourbon, 12 years old, 103 barrels, 96 proof, and an MSRP of $169. Now, last year it was $149, and in 2021 it was $130. So, in 2 years we've gone up $39. And I got a sample of this as well about a week ago. So I have it in here in front again. I'm just doing this to make Bob jealous. But I have to tell you a funny story. Old Forester sent me this sample, and it was a nice little box. And when I opened the box, it had a cutout for about the same size, 150 little medicine-looking bottle, right? But instead of having that size bottle in there, I had this little airplane bottle with a handwritten label flipping around in the box. So I don't know. We may have dropped a step in the sample distribution with Old Forester because we've we enjoy it, but we've been saying over the last couple of years it's kind of dropped and not necessarily worth the investment. And then the box it was sent in, I don't think it had been completely dry from the printing process. It was a 4-color printed box because it had a very chemical smell to it. So I've been letting this one sit to kind of open up a little bit. But let's see where it stands. The nose, decidedly different than the Four Roses. Got that banana note in there that I always get from the Brown-Forman family of products, especially the Old Forester line. But it's got a nice, I call it that kind of that woody varnish smell that goes on top of the vanilla and oak that I like so much. It's good, but nowhere near the Four Roses in terms of complexity. I think my problem with the birthday bourbons have been that they're very nice on the front of the palate. There's a lot of sweetness and good stuff there, but then as it goes to the mid and the back palate, it kind of falls apart. It doesn't have multiple dimensions to it. So it tends to be a little bit of sweet, and then it comes in with a little bit of the bitter tannins from that age in the barrels. And I'm looking for a little bit more spice notes in there to kind of balance it out. So not a bad bourbon whatsoever.
Those spice notes would have probably been there had he not proofed it down to 96.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think this, if I could try this barrel proof, I'd probably be super excited about it like I was the Four Roses. I think you might be spot on with that, Bob. So once again, not a bad bourbon, but once again, much better than a lot of other things that are out there. So don't take this wrong. It just isn't quite as robust and full flavor as I would like. And I think you're probably right. It's because they neutered it down to 96 proof. So good luck trying to get a bottle of this. There was a sweepstakes that's over now. So if you didn't win with that, you're going to have to try to find it at a retailer if it's not already gone. But let us know if you get a bottle and tell us what you think about it. And let us know if we're wrong about the perspective or our perception of this year's release. Next one on the lineup is Maker's Mark has made history by launching their cellar aged bourbon. This announcement was probably the worst kept secret in bourbon. People had leaked the TTB labels for a while and people knew this was coming, but it is a 2023 cellar aged release, which is a blend of 8 and 12-year-old bourbons bottled at cask strength. Now, Maker's Mark doesn't age their whiskey over 10 years. They've always had a super high level of fixation on a certain flavor profile. And they had found that by letting their whiskeys age too long, it was too oaky, too tannin, didn't stay within the flavor profile they wanted. But they finally came up with a way to do this. They built a new space with a cellar, and by putting the barrels in there, they were able to age them much longer and allow them to keep the flavor profile they were looking without letting the barrels, the tannins, and the bitterness take over the liquid. So we're really excited about this one. Once again, Steve Coombs, our man on the ground in Louisville, went to a junket, was able to taste this, and said it was absolutely outstanding. Once again, it's not cheap. It's going to be $150, but in the context of these last two releases, that's the bargain of the three, right? But once again, this is going to be a really hard one to get your hands on. But if you do, I have a strong suspicion you're not going to be disappointed.
All they had to do was drill into the side of a mountain.
That's right.
You know, drill inside of a mountain, put a cave in there. They got everything.
That's right.
And that's where they mature all the private selections.
Mm-hmm. They do now.
They had that. So yeah, 11 and 12-year-old blend. So
I don't know. Sounds delicious to me. You know, I always like the cast strength makers to begin with. I like that stronger proof. And now you do this. I don't know. Looks good on paper, sir. And if I get my hands on it, I'll let you know. On the less limited release, but something new and kind of a fun project is the founder of Rabbit Hole and the parent company Pernod Ricard have come together to launch the Mary Dowling Whiskey Company, launching 2 new barrels. And this is fun because Mary Dowling's story is something that a lot of Kentuckians may be aware of, but it's never really been featured. And her role in whiskey distilling and what we now treat as modern day Kentucky bourbon is fascinating and one that everybody should be aware of. So they've got 2 releases that are coming out. One is a tequila barrel finish, and that's to honor the fact that she moved her distillery during Prohibition to Juarez, Mexico, which is pretty cool. So if you've heard about distilleries moving to Mexico, she is one of those individuals that did that. And then they have a double oak barrel Kentucky straight bourbon that they're also putting out as well. So these are 2 brand new releases. They're going to be in a variety of states. The tequila barrel is selling for $75, and then the double oak barrel is going to be $130. So once again, we've not had a chance to try any of those, but I think the story alone of what they're bringing to light and honoring is worth a mention. It's definitely something you should check out. And we have a press release on our site once again where you can get more details and the link to follow it if you want to learn a little bit more. Michter's is joining in with the fall release fun. They're releasing their toasted barrel finish rye in September as well. It's going to be 108.9 average barrel proof for this release, and the suggested retail price is going to be $120 for a 750 ml bottle. Little, about $60, $70 cheaper than the 10-year versions. And once again, I'm personally a fan of Michter's, and I really like their rye. So I think this one would be a good one to check out if you can't get your hands on some of those even more exclusive bottles. This may be one that you want to try to hunt down and get your name on a list for. We talked about Blue Run, and since they've been acquired, they've released their first new expression post-acquisition. And it's called your triple aged whiskey, or trifecta, if you will, Bob. You like a good trifecta?
Yeah, bourbon, donuts, and ice cream. That's a good trifecta, yeah.
Well, it comes...
stuff comes in threes.
It comes in threes. It's 117.1 proof. And basically what it is, it's a blend of 3 different mash bills. It's a 9-year-old, which is 78% corn, 10% rye. An 8-year-old, which is 75% yellow corn and 21% rye. And then a 6-year-old that's 78% corn and 12% rye, with the balance always being malted barley. So these are blended together, and it's going to have a retail price of $180. And I what the fuck?
See, this is where, the stuff jumps the shark for me. $180, and the oldest is a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
Sourced. Come on. It's almost half 6-year-old sourced bourbon.
Yeah.
So
no, I mean, none of it's 10 years old. Now, one thing that they're pointing out in the press release is two of the bourbons that they're putting in here were aged on the higher floors of a rick house, so they're going to be a little bit more aggressive, have more quote-unquote wood heat, as they say, to add to the flavor. So if you like a little bit, what I would imagine would have to be a little hotter, a little more wood-forward flavor profile, this might be an interesting one to check out. But when I look at $180, right, for that, versus $170 for birthday bourbon, or $185 for Parker's, or even the $199 for Four Roses, I just don't get it. And once again, Molson Coors is going to have their work cut out for them to be able to sustain that pricing for the whiskey, especially if they switch to making their own whiskey. with an unproven track record. But I'm a broken record. This is what I've been saying all the time. But hey, if you want to try it, it's out there. If you're a fan, let us know, because they sure the hell are not going to send us a sample.
Well, Pops, though, the signature butterfly medallion on those bottles for this release, it's pewter. Pewter, which is an alloy made from 3 separate metals, serving as a nod to the 3 separate age whiskeys in the bottle.
Did I mention they're really good at brand marketing?
Kiss my ass. Sorry, Chrissy, but come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's not the whiskey for the rest of us. Let's just put it that way.
No.
Well, let's move on to the final release, which is from a brand that we do enjoy a little bit more, especially because they've listened to us in the past and how they've created their whiskey. And that would be this year's drop of Remus Repeal Reserve Series 7 is what we're up to, if you can believe that. The 7th annual offering. This year's is bottled at 100 proof, so they're keeping that 100 proof mark and staying above that. And the price is only $99, so they're staying consistent as well with that price point. Limited quantities starting in September. And it's going to be comprised of barrels aged between 9 and 16 years old from MGP. And this is put out under the Ross and Squibb distillery moniker. The blends, if you want to get really geeky here, there's 2007 bourbon, 2013 bourbon. Those 2 bourbons are 21 and 36% rye. And then the 2014, once again, both the 21 and 36% rye. So good stuff. We love our MGP whiskeys. I'm always a fan of those. And I've always enjoyed how they blend them together to create this reserve. So I have no doubt that this one's going to be a strong contender as well. And at $99, it's a bargain as far as limited releases go.
Yeah, I just wish they'd figure out something else to do with the name.
You don't like Ross and Squibb?
No, just make it Ross and Squibb. Or,
I know where you're going. Okay.
Yeah, you know what I'm going at.
Okay. Yeah.
They won't sell any if they call it the womanizer.
Well,
or the the assaulter, or the abuser, anything like that.
Well, it's like the whole thing cancels to somebody. He was an asshole, she was an asshole, and her boyfriend was an asshole. An asshole killed each other. So, and then what do? You launch a bourbon on top of it.
Yeah.
Once again, I think I said at the start of this episode, no one learns from history. So, once again, another proof point on that one. But maybe Ross and Squibb, and then we can do like a SpongeBob tie-in or something.
I'll hit the lottery. I just want to buy it and just call it MGP and leave it.
Maybe they'll just rebrand it all Penelope.
Maybe.
They never go.
Or even go back further, call it LDI.
There you go. Better yet, let's just go back to Seagram's. Why not?
Go back to Seagram's.
We get Bruce Willis to come do some more cooler commercials. It'd be great.
Oh my God, I completely forgot about those. How many in the audience remember the Bruce Willis Seagram's commercials?
That's right. There you go. See, Once again, we're punching above our weight, which is hard to do. We're going beyond bourbon. Now we get some great 1980s cultural references. It's fantastic.
Look here, Seagulls, golden wine cooler, Seagulls, golden wine cooler, it's wet and it's dry, golden wine cooler, my.
Well, I think, that's all the releases we had room for. That's a lot. And once again, a lot of these are hard to get, folks. So we understand that everyone's not going to get those. But once again, the goal here is just to keep you informed, give you our opinion, talk about the pricing a little bit, because that's always a pet peeve of ours. And we hope that you'll choose wisely. And if you really want one, we hope that you're lucky enough to be able to get your hands on one. And you never know. 1 or 2 of these may make an appearance at our annual summit. So we'll see what happens. I'm actually going to I won in the lottery. I've never won anything in the lottery. Last year I won the 2022 Four Roses limited edition. And Dan Gardner has been holding it for me. And so I got to go down.
Oh, you haven't? Okay, no, I was going to say, because I know I haven't tasted that from you yet.
No, I'm picking it up when we go down for the pick. So this is going to be great. So Bob, let's talk about probably, in my opinion, the most interesting collision story around the world of bourbon and entertainment. And I think this one, this one's going to hit home for people, and this is going to get more than a few people excited, I think.
I think so. With the writers' strike, the Hollywood writers' strike now, it's in its 4th month, and that has led to a lot more reality TV than usual. I mean, it's all over the place, but now even more so. And a lot of stuff is getting greenlit, more content than it might have been on the fence before the strike. They're greenlighting more. So enter the wonderful world of bourbon, right? Louisville-based ad agency Monster Mash Bill is partnering with Netflix to roll out Bourbon Mingle, which is going to be a limited run series where bourbon-loving singles are paired based on their whiskey knowledge, palates, and compatibility as determined by a 100-question survey and personal interviews taken during the application process. So these couples they're going to take on a variety of challenges as they move towards crafting their very own bourbon blend and determining if their mingling of whiskeys will also lead to a mingling of hearts.
Isn't that sweet?
If you will. Isn't that
Very
sweet? So they take all of these folks, they get all these questions and surveys and all this stuff, and then they pair them into couples. So they're set to begin filming in September with the Kentucky Bourbon Festival serving as an initial backdrop to bring the contestants together. So the producers Whit M. Whistle and Havia Drink, they previously have credits including Married at First Sight and Forged in Fire, those reality shows. So they selected the contestants from over 3,500 submissions. Selection process was strategic in that they went after singles that are in the industry or experienced whiskey connoisseurs. So no newbies, no crotch shot quarterbacks, nothing like that made it past the initial round.
Well, just for that, I'll tune in because the fact that they're not going to bring the taters into the equation actually makes it respect. Like I won't feel dirty watching it because these people actually know something about whiskey.
Yes. So the competition begins after the festival in a custom-built facility on the ground of the Cox's Creek warehouse and bottling facility at Four Roses. It's fashioned after Rick House. That facility is going to house 16 individual living quarters, plus a variety of common shared areas where contestants can mix and mingle. And they're going to have the competition on site at the distillery, which was key because they wanted to minimize driving and make sure everyone is as safe as they possibly can be as they make their way through the myriad of barrels and recipes and aging and all the things that Four Roses have to offer. So that is correct, folks. The end result is going to be a mingling of Four Roses recipes.
So Bob, how did Four Roses, why Four Roses? Why are they, that's not a brand I would have immediately thought of with reality TV.
Well, I wouldn't either. But in talking with some of our Bourbon and Banter Fuck Squad, the forensic undercover knowledge seekers, so obviously mingling has always been a big thing. That word itself has been used by Four Roses for as long as we can remember to talk about their process. They're known for mingling. They've got 10 recipes. They're mingling those things to create the best flavor profile, not necessarily dependent on one recipe or another. So that was a natural thing. It was a natural thing. Plus, Four Roses, it's the rose of love, right?
That's very true. Origin story, yes.
Yeah, origin story. Plus you've got the origin story for Four Roses, with the woman carrying the bouquet coming in and being seen from across the room, and so that all kind of goes hand in hand. Plus, if you're familiar with the brand, that legendary photo decades ago, that black and white photo of the sailor kissing the girl in Times Square.
Oh yes.
She's bent over. Well, that photo's been cropped. Most of the times you see it. When they uncrop that photo, at the very top, there's a Four Roses banner among Times Square. So coupledom, mingling, all has been a big thing throughout the history of Four Roses. So it seemed like a natural choice for them to go through with it. I am surprised that they said yes to it, but they've been doing a lot of work at Cox's Creek, and they've got the new bottling line facility, and they're rolling out a lot more stuff. So it kind of made sense the more I thought about it, especially with all the backstory.
All right, well, tell me more.
So the contestants' identities have been kept highly secret. We have no idea. Even our undercover knowledge seekers, the Fuck Squad, have not been able to figure out who was involved. They highly suspect that Bourbon and Banter senior contributor Aaron Petrie could be involved. but we've had no confirmation on that. We asked Erin about it. All she said was that she had a friend who'd been contacted, but she knew nothing else more than that.
Well,
so if
Bob, I'm pretty sure Erin's not a part of it, and we were just trying to get this episode going, so I haven't really told you much about this, but Erin has been hitting the dating scene pretty hard, and she came to me with an idea, and we're actually going to next month. And so you're just learning about this, and I apologize, but we're creating a new segment called Bourbon and Banging, a modern bourbon drinker's guide to dating. She's going to host it based on her own personal experience. And I have to tell you, folks, she has shared some of the messaging going back and forth between her and potential suitors. And she tests everyone on bourbon knowledge. So this is going to be fascinating. It's going to be a true insider's look at the pros and cons of bourbon and banging in this modern age. So you're not going to want to miss it. So I don't think she could do that if she was a contestant in this thing that you're talking about.
Well, I want to know who came up with the title. Who suggested the title?
I may have come up with the title after drinking for a while on a call with the team. You missed it. That was from our hangout last week. So
no, I know that, and I'm reading this. I'm like, oh, okay, yes, I'm highly interested to hear about that.
It'll be a titillating expose.
Although you said potential suitors, though. When you read the title "Bourbon and Banging," is it potential suitors or potential bangers? That's the question.
Well, I'd like to. Depending on their response is where they fall, right? Yeah. So we'll find out. She'll tell us more. I mean, I can't wait. I mean, this is gonna be her show.
Yeah, I'm very interested.
You and I are old codgers, man. This whole thing is beyond us. So it's gonna be fascinating. It's gonna be can't let our spouses listen to this episode. That's for sure.
Well, continue. Well, we are both very happily married individuals, so. Going back to
the real thing,
what we were talking about here. Some of the contestant challenges are rumored to be, traditional bourbon production, mashing, distilling, and blending, coopering, barrel making and charring, and some pairing recommendations and bourbon education, including history and modern day trends. So all these things will be in part of the challenge process going through this show. The top 4 scoring couples from the challenges will then proceed to a final mingling showdown where they will craft their own Four Roses blend from having all 10 recipes at their disposal. Now, I've heard that none of the recipes are going to be over 10 years of age, so they're not tapping into the stuff that they typically reserve for the limited edition small batches. The final bottles are going to be judged by a panel of experts, which will include Brent Elliott, and Four Roses legendary ambassador and sales guru, Dan Gardner.
Oh, my man, Dan. Love it.
Yes. So, and I think Dan may actually play a bigger role in this production, just kind of as I don't know, maybe as an on-site host or something like that. But all the stories that Gardner
I hope they dress him up like Cupid.
I will pay to see that.
Or just come to the Bourbon Banter Summit. We'll get him drunk, and then we'll dress him up as Cupid. Either
way,
I've
got a red suit. He can borrow my red suit. Maybe that'll work. Gardner in a red suit with some red cowboy boots. There we go. Once the winning mingling bottle is chosen, the couple behind it will receive an all-expense paid vacation to find out whether their mingling of hearts is going to last as long as the finish on their whiskey.
Oh, you tied that up with a nice bow, man. Well done.
Yeah, tied it up with a nice bow. So folks getting together, mingling bourbon, grouped together. And if these are the folks who did Married at First Sight, then I know there's a lot that goes into this. But I'll be curious to see, especially if they're surrounded by whiskey. So, if there is this going to be driven by whiskey or driven by feelings? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, I get 2 comments. One, it'd be really cool is if they take that trip and they stick together and they get married. Wouldn't it be cool if Four Roses brought back a new marriage release like they did in 2009?
Oh yeah, there we go.
That'd be kind of cool.
That would be cool.
And what's really cool is that's the first limited edition bottling I ever got. I get that as a Christmas present from someone I worked with that year. So that'd be kind of fun to bring that back. And the other thing I was going to say was, well, with whiskey in the equation, this could turn into a real circus, but we hear there's another story under development with that theme. So we'll leave that one lie, and we'll feature that in a future podcast. But man, I tell you what, I really could care less that these people are striking because there's so much content. I don't feel a loss in it. But this, I don't watch reality TV, but I think I would tune in for this one. This would be fun.
Yeah, I'm curious to see.
Especially if Dan
happens.
Gardner's on there. I mean, that's worth the price of admission.
That is absolutely worth the price of admission. Yes, it is.
All right. Well, you need to make sure you throw an extra scrap or two to the Fox for their reporting, because this one totally caught me off guard. I had not, I've been really busy lately, kind of running around and whatnot, and so this is exciting news.
Yeah, they did a hell of a job. They really fucked it good on this one.
All right, folks, now that we've talked about some exciting things coming, it's time for us to focus on the things that bother us most. That's right. It is time for the biggest, baddest, best segment in the podcast world. That's right. Bourbon Bullshit.
Bourbon Bullshit.
All right, Bob. Were you ever a D&D player?
No. I was never a D&D player.
Me either.
I made plenty of comments about D&D players, but I was never one.
I never could get into it, and my daughter is now playing it with her friends. They have a lot of fun with it, and I can understand it as an adult now. I can understand some of it, but still not for me. But I saw this press release, and it's been all over. A lot of them tossing this around, but apparently there's an actor out there, Matthew Lillard, who the press release talks about him being in the movie Scooby-Doo. Probably not the one he wanted highlighted, but I would have thought Scream would have been a better reference. But I think that might be actually older than the Scooby-Doo movie. But he is partnered up with some folks and is now selling a D&D inspired bourbon whiskey. Or as like I got to call,
okay,
Bourbon for Nerds. Now,
there you go.
And right now, those of you who play D&D, you're not a nerd. You're not. It's just turn a phrase. But I admire your conviction to storytelling and craft, and I really do. It's just not for me. But this just kind of struck me as like, okay, what the hell is going on? Did you read this? Did you read this in any detail, Bob?
No, not in any detail. I'm skimming it now, but no, I didn't, because I don't care. I just don't. Dungeons and Dragons.
Well,
kiss my ass. Come on. Now.
So here's the
unless it's coming in like a pewter dragon that you drink out of and feel like a god or some shit like that. But
well, Blue Run tried the pewter dragons. They didn't hold up well.
No, okay. Well, the butterflies did better than the dragons.
Well, this is kind of interesting. As I read it, I started thinking through of it. Once again, this is not a whiskey for whiskey connoisseurs. Okay, this is a whiskey for people who are into D&D and like the story and the collectability. So this is a collector's bourbon more than anything in my book. So they're releasing a series of these. They're going to be all different names. They're going to have different backstories. It's a very elaborate ecosystem, just like D&D itself being built out around these bottles. Okay, and he's going after this audience. The tabletop gaming industry is over 2 billion in terms of revenue. It's huge. So there's a ton of people out there, and these people are not necessarily all bourbon drinkers, right, or whiskey drinkers. So this is an opportunity for them to take something that is on trendy and top of mind and bring it into a world where maybe there's not a lot of consumption, where people are going to be willing to buy these because they tie into the lore of this world, if you will, and align with their affinities. This is much like Filmland Spirits, which is sourcing whiskey from MGP. It's decent whiskey and wrapping labels that look like movie posters. And they've created a website that have these scripts around these movies that don't exist and building up this lore. So this is kind of taking something that you and I love dearly, right? And are core believers in bourbon, have been even before it was popular, and now bringing it into these different affinity groups. It's a brilliant marketing spin, right? Once again. But it's by no means, this is not going to be the most amazing whiskey ever that's out there, right? This is going to be more about the bottles, more about the stuff that surround it. And I'm wondering, and the question I have is has whiskey gotten to a point where this is a good thing because it gets more people into it? Or are we starting to see the first steps of the eventual erosion of the industry? Like, I didn't do any research, but are there other things where this type of expansion has happened into these categories that then signal within X numbers of years the whole bottom's going to fall out of it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, there's other stuff. There's Kiss whiskey out there, and various other things that are going to, they'll sell. I'm looking for a price point, but I don't see that here anywhere. But whatever it is, they'll sell it because the people that are devoted to these kind of things, they're going to pay whatever.
It's $150 a bottle, and they're going to do 16 different bottles.
Yeah, they'll collect them. I guarantee it'll be something that sits on a shelf forever. They'll never get open.
Oh no, you'll walk into a room with somebody who has invested tens of thousands of dollars into D&D, and these will be aligning the room. There's no doubt about that. It's going to be sold only online through Sealbox, there's no doubt they're going to sell out of all these. So it's quite frankly, once again, from a marketing perspective, it's brilliant. And that marketing, that part of my history of spending almost 30 years in marketing, that's a brilliant move. It's just it's a shame that the whiskey, highly likely isn't going to live anywhere up to the price point of what people are investing. So that's the first thing. So once again, is Matthew Lillard a celebrity? Sure. Not a major celebrity. He's a celebrity. But do we give him props for actually creating something that's tied into something much larger? Or should we just, totally discard? We'll have to wait and see, but I suspect he's going to be very successful in selling these based on the audience he's going after.
Maybe it could be just a bunch of stuff that nobody wants.
Well, it's
that's the way to get rid of this.
One way to get rid of shitty whiskey, right?
That's right.
Because once again, suddenly people can do this. Where's all this whiskey coming from, right? What's fascinating is other brands have been able to get up and running and expand their capacity, and I still can't get fucking Buffalo Trace on a shelf in St. Louis easily. Something's not right in Denmark, Mr. Sazerac. That's all I'm saying. Well, let's continue the tirade and let's move into, another one of my hot topics, which is pricing, right? That I can't stand things that are expensive. We covered that off in a lot of the limited releases. And anybody who argues with me about the fact that a business can charge whatever they want, they're 100% correct. They can charge whatever they want. But brands that have previously been not expensive that continue to raise their prices, or brands that source from someone else and charge 3 to 4 times what the brand charges themselves, I have issues with that. And I think all of us who write about whiskey need to keep this topic top of mind, to keep people in line. But there are plenty of our counterparts out there that never talk about price. They just talk about the quality of the whiskey, and that's your choice. But, I think it allows brands to do whatever they want. But really gives me is when a publication goes out and whether our purpose or inadvertently tries to normalize pricing on bourbon. And I'm speaking very specifically to a article that appeared in Food and Wine magazine, I think it was. And the headline is Maker's Mark is dropping its oldest bourbon expression ever, and it's actually affordable. And they're talking about the cellar-aged bourbon, which is $150 a bottle. And the fact that they're saying it's actually affordable to me is just totally ridiculous. They actually, I don't even think really talk about it in the article itself. But the idea is they're clickbaiting and trying to get people through. But let me be perfectly clear. For most people, $150 is not affordable. The definition of affordable is inexpensive, reasonably priced. I guess maybe if you're a multimillionaire, $150 is reasonable. But in my book, it's far from affordable and reasonably priced. It is definitely a luxury purchase, one that has to be weighted and considered before investing the money. But does this bother you as much as it bothers me, Bob?
Yeah, it does. But I have just, throughout my life, I have tried to ignore stupidity. So when I see dumb shit like that, I'm like,
how's that going, by the way?
Yeah, exactly. So I just skip right past it. I mean, I did click on it. It's like, okay, affordable. What are they talking about? I saw $150. I said, fuck you. No, come on. It's not. I understand inflation, but affordable has not gone from $40 or $50 a bottle to $150 a bottle. That's not affordable to most people, like you said. Mm-hmm. So don't sit there. In the scheme of other limited editions from major distilleries that are comparable, the pricing is in line. But at no point now, or can I see several years from now, is $150 going to be looked at as an affordable price for a bottle of whiskey?
You know what's affordable? 10-year-old Russell's Reserve, $35. That's affordable.
Yep.
And you know what's funny? $35 puts it in the premium price category.
Drink it all day, twice on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something too, you know, so as we get into Bourbon Heritage Month here that we've done in the past, is talking about price, and people are looking at like, oh, geez, $30, 30 bottles. We got to go get 30 different bottles to drink. And if you're needing to look to, this is going off on a tangent that's completely unrelated to this, but you can easily do that, folks, for less than $30 a bottle. You know, he's talking about Russell's Reserve. If you get that at a wholesale club, it's $28.88 at my local wholesale club for that 10-year Russell's Reserve small batch. You know, you've got stuff from Heaven Hill, you've got Standard Makers, you've got stuff from all of your major distilleries that you can buy for less than $30 a bottle. And sometimes multiple. Look at all the Heaven Hill bottled and bonds you can get.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I know a lot of people are going to say, man, you guys are a bunch of broken records. You're always talking about this. You're right. But you know what? Most people aren't. And I think that's a problem. Most people just, you know, Bob, I understand you're like, I just try to avoid it, whatever. But I just can't let it go because so many people are spending all this money. And here's the thing. And a lot of people are buying it and they're not even drinking it. And I can tell you right now, you know, if you're a guy and you're amassing this great collection of hard to get bottles and you're never opening them. And I saw some great photos over the last 2 weeks of people who have more allocated bottles than I ever have because I don't seek anything out. If I get a sample, that's how I get it, right? If I stumble across it in a store for a retail price or something, I might pull on it, but that's about it. So I don't have a lot of it, right? But they're sitting there multiple bottles of this stuff. When they die, the joke's on them. You know why? It's because their spouse or their partner are going to take that $200 bottle of bourbon and either give it to someone or pour it in a Manhattan. And the value of it just totally disappears. It's a bottle of liquid. And the value of that as a collector's item, always suspect. But if you're going to drink stuff, man, drink within your budget. Or get a whole bunch of friends together and chime in. You know, once again, not saying don't buy it, but don't chase it because of that price tag. And that's what bothers me. So when a publication tries to argue that it's affordable at $150, I lose a lot of respect for them.
And we may be a broken record, but that's because we continue to see shit out there like this.
That's right. And if you agree or don't agree with us, we'd love for you to chime in to the comments. And the way you can do that with the podcast is go to bourbonbanter.com. You can select the menu item that says podcast, find this episode, and chime in on the comments. You got to register, free registration to be part of the community. And then you'll get invited to the Facebook community as well. And you can chime in further there, or you can become a paid member and come into Slack and really get into the nitty gritty because we love debating the things, having the conversations. This is how we move the industry forward. But once again, you know, if anything, it's just to realize what it is. And once again, if you've got the money and you can do it, great. But please don't chase after it simply because you think it's good because of that price tag. That's not the case. And on the heels of that, I think we got to hit the next item, which I know you're going to love, Bob, which is be careful of the marketing hype too. And, you know, our friends at Jefferson's, we've poked fun at them a lot over the years, you know, with the Jefferson's Ocean Age bourbon, which was the best bourbon Erin's ever tasted. The Ocean Spray bourbon, I'm sorry, it's the best one she's ever tasted. But this next one that came across, it was almost like we wrote it as a joke, but it's real. And that's the new Jefferson's Tropics bourbon. You saw this one, right, Bob?
I did, and I saw it, and Pops' first line was, "This sounds like something that we would have come up with." I'm like, well, damn it, I'm sorry I didn't think of this first, but it's actually real.
That's right. This is Jefferson's bourbon that was matured in Kentucky, then put on a ship, and it sailed all the way over to Singapore. Okay, they sent 720 barrels, is what they're reporting, of matured Kentucky bourbon to Singapore. Okay. And then it was aged for 18 months in the jungles of Southeast Asia. This sounds like a Ben Stiller movie. Tropic Thunder Part 16, The Bourbon Years.
I just started hearing the A-Team theme playing.
Oh, the A-Team theme. Okay. I go Tropic Thunder, you go A-Team. And it's humidity. The tagline is aged in humidity. You could put it in your gym shorts and aged it in humidity.
I was going to say it could be aged in a. I'm not even going to go there. I was going to start to say something. I'm not even going to do it. What's going to be next?
Oh my God, this is crazy. But the Men's Journal, that highly award-winning whiskey tasting publication, described the taste akin to funky Jamaican rum with hints of over-ripened fruit. I haven't tried it. I don't know. But there's one thing that was mentioned in the press release from Trey Zoller from the brand. It was his point of view on terroir and whiskey. And, if you're familiar with the concept of terroir in the world of wine, right, we really got a solid foothold. It's all about the land, right, and the climate of where the grapes are grown and how that infuses the wine with those flavors and tastes and everything, and that's the terroir. And some people have been arguing that you can get terroir out of whiskey. There's actually a whiskey company overseas that has done a lot of tests around this and has some interesting results. But Trey comes in here and says, to him, terroir for whiskey is not where the grains are grown, but rather where the whiskey ages. Okay? And I thought that is a very interesting statement because I think it makes a lot of sense. And it obviously is self-servicing for him because it supports what he's done with Jefferson's Oceans, with this new Tropics version. It can support what's going on with O.H. Ingram with their barge-aged whiskey. The Brad Paisley's, American Highway, where it's put in the semi-truck and whatnot. But it's a curious conversation for people. And once again, chime in the comments and let us know what you think about that. But we couldn't have come up with a better story. And who knows when we're going to get a chance. Once again, Jefferson's doesn't really grace us with any samples at this point as well. So
I wonder why.
But I tell you what, they got they had it when we did that story about the Jefferson's Ocean Spray, their phones didn't stop ringing. You think we would have got a thank you gift for that. And whatnot. So Trey, if you're listening, I'd love to taste it and see what it's all about. It's the craziest damn thing I've heard since you put it on a boat. And who knew that Singapore was the place to age your whiskey? But what I want to know is, it says it journeyed to Singapore, but did they actually take it into the jungle? Because talk about a documentary reality TV show. I think that thing's got some roots to pull on, Bob. So you get the fucks on that, and let's see where it takes us.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see it. It makes me wonder. It's like, okay, this looks like something that we wrote. Well, what's next? What is coming next from Jefferson's? You know what?
I mean, this one's kind of real, but last 2 years I've really gotten it into cigars. So I'd love, you've seen brands that have infused cigars, right, with whiskey. I'd like to see a cigar barn aged Jefferson's, right, where they literally take the barrels down to like Nicaragua and they put them in a barn and surround it, like put the barrels and then pack it around with all the tobacco that are in the bales that are fermenting, under the high heat where it generates all that heat, and let that infuse into the barrels. That could be interesting. Not only could it have some interesting flavors, but it'd probably get you high too, quite frankly, if it got infused there enough. So that'd be trendy as hell. I like that.
You're talking about humidity aging and all that kind of stuff. I mean, maybe there's a red light Jefferson's red light, where it's aged, in the bedroom of a 400-pound Guatemalan whore or something like that. And then that's, it's really humid in there. And Pops almost fell off the chair there, folks. He didn't know that was coming.
I did not see that one going. That wasn't in the show notes. Holy crap.
Yeah. The whore bourbon. There you go. Or just RGB.
RGB, red light, green light, blue light?
No, really good bourbon. Just give us some really good bourbon, Trey. That's all we want. Take all the bullshit away. Just give us good bourbon.
He did that with the presidential series. The 17 and 8-year-old was fantastic. But
how long ago was that?
That was long ago.
Long ago.
I had a little bit of hair in my head and not so much on my face. Well, if you've got an idea for what Jefferson should do for their next experimental aged whiskey. Drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear those ideas. And if it's good enough, we're going to make sure you get a shout out in the next podcast. But let's class up the joint a little bit, Bob. And, nothing says classy than champagne bottles, right? And magnums, to be exact. And who knew that,
You're still talking about champagne bottles, right?
Yes. So, quote unquote, a classy way to bring the heat to all your holiday celebrations caught our attention. And turns out that Fireball is releasing that amazing flavored whiskey now in what they're calling a Dragnum. You get it? It's a play on Dragon, Fire, and
No,
Magnum.
I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to get it, and don't you fucking bring it to me. What? Jesus fucking.
So just to be real clear, they are releasing Fireball in a Magnum-sized champagne bottle and calling it a Dragnum. If you missed that,
and
please.
the picture's got the bottle there with 2 champagne flutes and a little bit of fire. It's like, Jesus Christ. No, it's not carbonated Fireball, or it doesn't have bubbles, but it's the same delicious. Kiss my.
So here
oh my God! Idiots are going to buy this shit for Valentine's Day.
Well,
you should.
the fact
if
that
anybody gives you this for Valentine's Day, that signals the end of the relationship right there.
Well, first of all, I can't believe that it's not a Valentine's Day release. They're releasing it now. But I have a theory on why this is happening. So most people will drink Fireball in college, right? And then they get out of college and they sort of elevate their taste, right? But what's happening is that college students are leaving school with so much debt, they can't afford to drink better. So they're just going to change the vessel once you buy it so it looks like you're making money and it's slightly more impressive. It's the perfect upgrade for when you go to graduate school and you're instilling more debt. Now you can drink your Fireball from a Dragnum and be all sorts of classy with your plastic champagne cups. I tell you, I bet you that's the market research that went into it.
We've just told everybody how to drink well for less money. Don't do this shit. Fucking Dragnum.
Well, not only, but how does this play into being socially responsible and moderate your drinking, right? It's bad enough that they had people that used to go in and buy shots for everybody of Fireball, right? Which from a marketing perspective, once again, is brilliant, right? Try the product, buy the product, drink a lot of the product. But now, as if the buckets of Fireball shot bottles weren't enough, now we're just going to put it all in one large bottle, and there's probably...
Or the boxes of Fireball. Yeah.
So, Sazerac in one ear, out the other. So, God bless. All I know is all this Fireball sales was supposed to be paying for us to have more bourbon. And yet again, I'm not seeing any more on my shelves. So, but I'm going to take a pause here, Bob, and I'm going to let you carry the rant forward here for a minute.
Well, speaking of stupid shit, so
please continue.
We had talked about the Colonel Sanders edition of E.H. Taylor a while back, but KFC is finally bringing a spirit to market. Not necessarily to this market, but an 11 herbs and spices rum. Branded with they're working with Dead Man Fingers to create the chicken chain's first ever spirit, 11 herbs and spices rum. It's being done with a brand that's out of Cornwall, England. So it's not even in the U.S. They're going to have an exclusive thing overseas. How does Kentucky Fried Chicken go into spirits business with a rum from England as the first thing that they're going to do?
Well, not only that, it's launching on September 1st, which is Bourbon Heritage Month in the U.S.
And they're going to have a chance to try it at some pop-up chicken and rum shacks over in England. I mean,
I worked at a global PR agency for 7 years, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, this is the kind of shit that happens when the client says, hey, we need to do something in market so people don't forget about us, but we don't have any new products of our own to differentiate. So can you come up with an idea? Nothing's off the table. This is the shit that they're paying $3,000 an hour for a group of 10 people to be in a room brainstorming. This is what you get.
And you get 11 herbs and spices rum in England for Kentucky Fried Chicken. What the hell?
I don't know, but I guess the KFC spotted dick didn't play well in the consumer taste surveys.
I guess not. I mean, I just. Oh.
Well, you know what? I don't. For all the things you've outlined, I don't get it. But I have to say, of all the specialty weird things, this is one I would actually try because I do like rum. I'm not a spiced rum person, but I could see where this could potentially play in. So
with the herbs and spices from the original recipe, Kentucky Fried Chicken mixed in with rum,
it might. I'm just saying. So I try it. I mean, I'd take one for the team. I'd give it a shot. You know, I know Erin already raised her hand. She's like, I'll try it. She's like, I tried the
There's
green.
nothing she won't try.
That's right.
Keep that in mind, folks, with that new segment
when you
comes
tune in to Bourbon and Bangin'. There's no doubt about that. Her mom's going to love those episodes. I'm just saying because her mom listens to that. Hi, Erin's mom. Please don't think less of your daughter.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well,
just relaying the travels of a current single individual.
So what I'm hearing from you, Bob, is if they reach out to us and offer us a sample, you're not going to do it.
They can stick it up their ass. You can go ahead and try it, but I'm not.
All right, fair enough. Shit. Fair enough. All right. Well, you know who will try it? Spirit influencers, specifically whiskey influencers. Bob is now cowering in the corner, making the sign of the crucifix in front of his face, telling me to stay away. This is Bob's favorite topic, folks. Whiskey influencers. Tell us how you feel, Bob.
Going back to the
should we define what an influencer is in your mind before people send stuff to us saying, well, wait a minute. What to you is an influencer?
When I think influencer, I think somebody who had to move back into their parents' basements when they got out of college because they couldn't do anything with the liberal arts degree that they got. And now they're, stuck there for 40 years. But they're going to get on Instagram and say, hey, look at me doing this stupid shit for whatever, and here's what you ought to do.
Okay, I'll take it a step further. It's potentially all those things, even though I've got a liberal arts degree. But I got out of my parents' basement. For me, when I think of an influencer, I think of someone who has amassed a following through their photography, their look, their creativeness, and they push products even though they don't necessarily have a true understanding or knowledge of said product. So when we come to whiskey influencers, these are people who are promoting whiskey and whiskey products, but don't necessarily have a palate or an established reputation for knowing much about the product. They just simply take great, cool pictures and push it out there for all the other aforementions we said, whether they've got a look that people like, they've got a style that they like, they're funny, but they actually are not very knowledgeable on the product itself.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a difference between whiskey professionals and whiskey influencers. What Pop's just described is not someone like Becky Paskin, who does this for a living, who is well respected and very well liked, and whose opinion I would trust in whatever I'm reading it on.
Right, and she's a writer. She's not an influencer, just like us. We're not. I don't consider ourselves influencers. I consider us, a publishing company and media. Fred Minnick, he may influence people, but he's not an influencer. He's a writer. He's an author.
No, that's what he does. That's his gig.
Right.
It's people that are proven to know what they're talking about when it comes to the product and comes to the category that they're discussing, compared to folks who are just, like Pop said, have got a look that has got them to get brands to give them money. And it's usually not brands giving them, it's ad agencies that are buying these times. Like, oh, well, this person looks the part. They can influence people who, just follow along with the crowd and don't actually pay attention to what's going on. And that's who the people that are looking. So that when somebody wants to actually go out and try to learn about whiskey, learn about bourbon, rye, whatever you have it, they say, well, where should I go? So then you start pulling up all these articles from various other blogs, Instagram posts, whoever, and it's focused on opinions from people who have no idea what they're talking about. And it's dangerous because then you've got people going out and spending money, and a lot of times spending a lot of money if they don't know what they're talking about. It's like, well, that's got to be good. It's $100, like he just said.
Right.
And that's going to turn them off. It's like, well, I paid that much for this, so I'm supposed to like this, but this tastes like piss.
Well, and a lot of people won't even know if it's good or bad because they've never drank it before. But here's the interesting thing. Influencers have such a crucial role to play in the sense that brands like them because they're allowing them to market a product amongst an audience who isn't already drinking it or drinking in the category. And a lot of the influencers, especially the smaller ones where people tend to go the 10 to 20,000 followers, they're not super expensive, right? So you can get a lot of unique reach and influence, as the name implies potentially, without having to spend a lot of money. And that's why they're so popular. And they just hold a bottle up in front of a waterfall and suddenly, that's supposed to make you want to drink a bottle of bourbon, which unfortunately is how a lot of people make their purchasing decisions, Bob. Like it or hate it, that's what a lot of do. I mean, Bourbon and Banter is a source for people who have been drinking for a little while and kind of know and kind of want to be in the know and kind of go beyond that sort of tater aspect of drinking. But unfortunately, there's a much larger audience in that category for influencers to reach that the brands are interested in, because they're not looking to sell an extra bottle a year to you or me. They're looking to sell 1 or 2 bottles to the millions of people that aren't drinking whiskey right now. Still sucks though.
And we're not the get off our lawn guys, even though we're the get off our lawn guys, but we're trying to educate folks and provide a more knowledgeable resource for people to go to when they're interested in these type of things. I was telling Pops earlier, it's like, well, I'm summertime. I'm not a huge beer drinker. I enjoy beer, but I like wheat beers in the summertime. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, what might I not know about? But where do I go to get that information? It's like, I don't trust 90% of the stuff I'm going to read because I know it's all bullshit. So, the people coming in the same way for whiskey, it's like these folks are leading them down the dark path.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's gonna be something that's not going to change. But we'd love to know who are your favorite people to follow, other than Bourbon and Banter, of course, that you feel really know their shit. Drop in the comments, let us know. Because if there's someone that's not on our radar, we'd love to add them and see what's going on, because that's what it's all about. Bourbon and Banter. It's about having a drink, getting together, having conversations. That's really the goal here. And as we've been doing this a long time, longer than most. And it's hard to stay excited in the face of price increases and people talking about whiskey that don't know anything. And we can lose perspective sometimes. But what drives me personally, and I don't want to speak for you, Bob, but what really gets me is the conversations. That's why we're pushing the community so much. I'd rather have a community of, 600 to 1,000 people who I know by name and interact with and see in person and get on Zooms with than a Facebook group that has 40,000 people. Because most of those people aren't interacting. And so for me, that's what it's about. So if you're in your bourbon journey at that point where getting together and talking about it's talking about the frustrating, it's about enjoying the good, sipping the good is your gig and the type of thing you're looking for, and you want to have that thing and develop some real friendships. We hope you'll strongly consider becoming an active part of our community, and hopefully we'll meet up with you in person to kind of continue that conversation. But definitely share us with your friends, and hopefully they'll join as well. Anything else you want to say about whiskey influencers, Bob, before we move on?
Not that won't get us thrown off of wherever we're at.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. I suspect though that the whiskey aged in a whore's bedroom might have already done that. But you never know. Or maybe we'll get a whole new level of listeners. We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what happens.
Hey, it's just a suggestion. Talking about hot and humid.
I've always wondered why there wasn't that angle with Amsterdam vodka. But anyway, folks, that's going to wrap up what I guess is now the 33rd episode of the Bourbon and Banter podcast. And, there are podcasts out there that have a lot more episodes, but there's none that are as meaty as this podcast. And we measure that by tonnage. So when we say it, we mean it. And we hope you enjoy everything that we do. The things that are honest, things that are maybe somewhat made up. But we really appreciate you guys tuning in. And as we start our 10th anniversary of celebrating Bourbon Heritage Month, we sincerely hope you'll join in, enter the giveaway, participate in the 30 Days of Bourbon Journey, and help us celebrate the most badass month of the year. And with that said, Bob, the last thing that I'm going to tell to people is if you're going to drink
curious.
Well, what's your preference?
Bourbon, if you got it.
bourbon from Kentucky.
I should certainly fucking hope so.